you shouldn't be paralyzed with fear. You should not dismiss the organization operational ties between the mullah regime and Islamic fundamentalists and leftists here in Western in West in the West. I think that's very that was a very pertinent insight, which is amazing. It came from inside occupied Iran. And I think it also has it would have a lot of operational utility for the efforts that spring off of what we do here.
Right, right. I mean, the specific threat, for example, that he was talking about is the Islamic Republic finding a way to assassinate President Trump, and we shouldn't dismiss that, given that the last two times that President Trump was being targeted for assassination, it made it clear that it's not really difficult to to do, right? And those are the two people who tried it, and one of them came very close. There was no funding behind them, right? There were no funding behind them, as far as we know. So imagine if the Islamic Republic just puts out, I don't know, $10 million reward for whoever is able to do that for all the criminal gangs in the United States. And then instead of like a teenager trying to do that, imagine if we get like professional assassins try to figure out how to do it, then that's a serious threat. Jeffrey, I saw you wanted to respond to that.
Yeah, so in 2 points. One is that your assessment is very much reflective of the evolution of the operational environment due to the global socioeconomic and technological trends I kind of keep referencing, right? Because they're so applicable to everything. And how that interplays with what the organizational structure of oppositional forces looks like. So before, during the Soviet era of the Cold War, because of the relative primitive nature of the telecommunications and transportation technology that existed at the time, it was mostly hub and spoke and or spider web in nature, meaning you had organized nodes, you had defined organization operational ties between those nodes. And while those still exist, now you think of it as competing clouds where an actor puts out a signal, whether it's an act, a statement throughout the cloud. And when that hits a receptive node, that node then self actualizes and carries out its attacks or activity independent of having to have any organization operational ties. And that makes a lot of that link analysis, it undermines the impact of, say, link analysis. Not that the link analysis has no impact or utility. I'm just saying it no longer is the level of utility it did. Illustrative of that would be I think it was in the summer of 2023 or 2024 when the Canadian version of the Hells Angels was busted, or some chapters of it were busted by having organizational operational ties with the Mullah regime and IRGC that was approaching them to carry out assassination attempts against then former Trump officials and or President Trump.
Sorry
Still
about
here?
that. So some people might say that, well, the Islamic Republic would never do such a thing, given that if they do carry out an assassination like that, that would be their final day, because the entire force of the United States would then come raining down on them like hellfire if they do that. So why would be that idiotic to even try something like that? The problem is that the Islamic Republic is not just one thing. Like a lot of people think like, oh, the Islamic Republic, they think of it as this one body with a single, motivation, with a more homogenous way of thinking. Like there's so many different competing groups. There's so many different. There are pragmatic elements. There are more ideological elements. There are radical and then more radical. Like they're all radical, but then we have different degrees of radical within the Islamic Republic. We have so many people within the Islamic Republic that are backstabbing each other, that are trying to position themselves against each other. A lot of them are waiting for the are competing against other elements of the Islamic Republic for who gains more power after the death of Khamenei. There's a lot of financial competition there, so it's really a really competitive environment, and some of them are more power hungry, some of them are money hungry, some of them are genuinely trying to do everything in their power to bring Mahdi back, to basically prepare the world for the return of the Mahdi. And so the more cuckoo versions of them might not even mind America coming in and bombing the shit out of everything. Some of them are even angry with the Islamic Republic for not being Islamic enough. So they might even want to encourage a war to bring the end of times, right? So again, given that there's so much money being exchanged by among different elements of the Islamic Republic, it is possible that some of them will move money to do something that is some other people within the Islamic Republic would not approve of. So you have to keep that in mind. So it might not make sense for some people within the Islamic Republic, but it still might make sense for some other elements within the Islamic Republic. Okay.
Okay,
So
next is Danny.
Danny.
And second, okay, hello. So, Armin, you were talking yesterday about how people can have a mixed belief between Islam and the real world, but it got too late for me to ask my question. So, for me, it's always been a mystery how people can balance this view when the laws of Islam about hell, for example, are so sharp. So, specifically, I just don't get how the majority of Muslims are not as afraid of hell as you are, and but we don't really see, for example, hundreds of millions of Muslims abandoning all their worldly possessions to go join the army of Allah, whether they think that's ISIS or Hezbollah or whatever else. Even though I think if you interpret Islam logically, they certainly should. So, do they just never think about hell? Or is it that whenever they think about it, they rationalize that it will not be that bad or that it's not that likely they'll get there so that they can go on with their life not thinking about it?
All right, so guys, what Danny is referring to is a conversation that we had in our previous discussion. We were talking about how people I think it was a question that BT asked regarding like people within the Islamic Republic, do they actually believe in these things? Is their behavior based on their belief or not? So I was suggesting that it's not binary, and for people who are not haven't been in a cult or haven't been brainwashed, it's hard to understand. It's more of a spectrum rather than a binary. I believe it, so I behave accordingly, or I don't believe it, so I don't behave accordingly, right? It's more of a spectrum. There are many people who believe it, but the degree in which that belief influences their behavior differs even if they believe it. This might not make sense because you think, well, if you believe it, why wouldn't you behave accordingly? In my opinion, we have like two operating systems. One is the one that you're born with, and it's your basically your nature. It's basically one is the gene, the other one is the meme. So you have your gene operating system that you're born with, and the meme operating system has been installed on top of that. And sometimes there's a conflict between the meme operating system and the gene operating system. The installation of the meme operating system has to be very efficient for you to overcome your gene operating system, right? So humans are naturally desire cooperation, desire seeing other people happy, desire living, fear death, right? Love to see their children prosper, like to see other people smile. These are the things that we are born with. We are very social animals. So if you have a religion or a belief that goes against that, even if you say you believe it, it takes more than believing it for you to completely overcome your humanity. You know what I mean? So you might actually believe that you believe it, but it might not occupy your mind as much as somebody that is more radical than you, even if you say you believe it. I'm very familiar with this because I actually went through this contradiction more than anyone I know. Because when I was growing up in Iran, when I became introduced to the concept of hell as a child, I was surprised that why is everybody not constantly focus on avoiding hell. Like even as a before elementary school, I was like, why is everybody not terrified? And then the more I grew up, I thought to myself, like, why are people worried about their school? Why are people worried about their grades? Why are people worried about their career? Why are people worried about like the party that they're going to? Why are they worried about if the drapes are matching the furniture, right? Why are people worried about upgrading the car that they're driving? It made absolute no sense to me. I was like, guys, you all believe that there's a place that we could be burning for thousands of years. Shouldn't like every day we wake up, every waking hour be spent on how the hell do I stay out of there? I actually burned myself here when I was a kid, just to see how much it hurts to burn in hell. I burned myself and I still have the burn marks. And I tried to imagine it all over my body for 5 minutes, for 10 minutes, for then for like 1 hour, 1 month, 1 year, 10 years. Hold on, let me make Babak, wait, let me finish my story, okay? Don't don't miss let people this is important, okay? Then I try to figure out how could anybody ever, nobody could tolerate this. Like nobody could tolerate being burned for thousands of years. It made absolutely no sense, right? So this is this is what I did. I'll get this done fast, okay? I know this is taking long, right? So in Iran, in our schools, they told us that there, in Christianity, you learn that you're born with sin. So as soon as you're born with sin. But we were told, in based on our Islamic teaching in Iran, that there is no sinning for girls before age 9, and there's no sinning for boys before age 15. That means you're completely pure, and no sins are counted for boys until they hit age 15. And after age 15, your brownie points and your sins start counting. So I asked my religion teacher in school that what happens to boys who die before age 15. He said, well, they go to heaven because they died pure. I like, okay, but what if, so suicide is a sin in Islam. You go to hell if you commit suicide. But I said, but what if you commit suicide before age 15? Because you cannot sin as a boy before age 15. And he said, okay, but if you commit suicide before age 15, you go to heaven because you're pure before age 15. So I jumped out of the window of my school because I did not understand why nobody else would do this. I thought everybody else is insane to try to gamble their eternal life with potentially going to hell. I thought I found a loophole in the system. I thought if I kill myself before 15, then I'm guaranteed to go to heaven because I died pure. So I jumped out of the window of my high school, of my, well, guidance school, we call it. I broke both my legs. I fractured my back, and I broke my left hand, because it just, based on the premises that we were given, that made absolute sense. So this is Danny, back to your question. This is what happens if you actually believe in the premises that they give you. And honestly, to this day, I think that was the most logical thing to do if the premises are correct. And I couldn't understand why nobody else was doing this. This was the logical thing to do. And this is why I'm saying, like, the most logical thing to do if you genuinely believe in Islam is to be ISIS, Al Qaeda. All of those are the most logical Muslims. They're not, a lot of people are like, oh, okay, the radical Muslims are crazy. No, the good Muslims are crazy. The radical Muslims are actually the sane ones, because what they do makes sense based on the belief that they have. If you genuinely believe that the best place in heaven is made for martyrs, right, then you would go out of your way to try to die in a war for Allah. Nothing else makes sense. Nothing, doing anything else makes no sense. Like, guys, this life is temporary, that life is eternal. Why would I bother worrying about how this life, what I'm doing in this life, where I could basically guarantee the best part of heaven forever and ever and ever by becoming a martyr? So yeah, Al Qaeda and ISIS members, they're the rational ones. Every other Muslim who's not Al Qaeda, they're good people, but they're not very smart. All right.
That doesn't fully answer how you can be able to half believe you're going to burn in flames forever.
Well, compartmentalization, right? Compartmentalize and ignoring. So here's the thing: other people do it as well, right? Like, have you ever done something that you knew, like, do you waste time like playing video games while knowing that you should be doing your homework, for example? Just, it's an extreme version of that. It's a very extreme version of that. Okay. All right. I think Jeffrey wanted to say something to this, right? By the way, Jeffrey, it's okay. You can open your camera. You don't look that bad, honestly.
I'm so sick, dude.
All that.
Uh,
I love your dog. I fucking love your dog.
Okay, okay, okay. Let's go,
I,
Jeffrey.
I I don't. It's not. I think it's more apt to say it's not that they're rational, it's that they're ideologically consistent with the belief that they profess. I mean, Islam's
Yeah, I
not a
kind of
rational belief system, right? It's crazy. That said, I get the point. Not to correct you, I'm saying they're ideologically consistent, and it's true, right? If you are a devout, given how Islam doctrinally defines itself, yes, you can't. It's hard. It's impossible to say you're a peaceful subscriber to Islam. It's like saying, well, you truly subscribe to Nazism, yet you love Jews. Well, then you can't be a Nazi, right? Because words have meaning. I get what
well,
you're
I mean,
saying.
yeah, I guess by rational, I mean consistency is one of the requirements to be rational. I mean, so if you accept the retarded premises, then if you want to be completely rational after you accepted those retarded premises, then you have to come up to with those conclusions. That's what I mean. But I see what you're saying as well. Anyways,
Okay, next we have Aaron Smith.
Hello. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to touch, especially on the Islam part. But first, I did want to say, Armin, when I was younger, I turned on a stove and stuck my hand on it. It had nothing to do with religion. I was just being dumb. So
wow.
just kind of wanted to let you know that you're not alone there, you know? But yeah, just one thing I wanted to touch on. I do agree they're ideologically pretty well consistent. One thing I will say is I've kind of had some experiences being home where that kind of maybe defies the stereotype a little bit. Like I worked at a gym as a manager when I was in college for a while, and there was this guy named Mo. He was a partier, drank a lot, and come to find out, that was his religion. Like he actively went to mosque and everything, and like some of the people that went to his mosque were members of the gym. And the thing about them is you wouldn't have known it looking at them at all. Americanized. I mean, like I said, guy had multiple DUIs, and that in Islam, that's no. Like you're drinking's a no go. And then, just kind of on that same token, I always think my experience in Afghanistan with the Taliban, not Al Qaeda, because they were the real extremists. Like, yeah, they're Islamic extremists, but they're like 100% Afghani organic. And Afghan culture has always been fight foreigners. Like, if you come into their territory, that's their culture. They all fight you. But then when you leave, they all fight each other because one of the things like my interpreters told me, like when, kind of bring up your point of power vacuums, Armin, when the Russians finally left Afghanistan after they couldn't hold up the government anymore and they finally gave up, there were 5 different factions alone fighting for the capital. So just kind of just wanted to add to that point of yours there, Armin, like there's many different factions within, that are all kind of vying for their own control there.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Cat Lady.
By the way, Cougar Master, you're already on the list. So, with Cat Lady, go ahead.
So we have a cat and a cougar. Okay.
Yes.
So, as someone who grew up in a very kind of religious environment, I actually get your point very well because some people are like very direct. Like you tell them something as a child, they take you seriously. And then they wonder why the rest of the people don't seem to. But I think there is also another element of it, which is the character of the person and also like the theory of self, which is in relation to the world, the society, how you see yourself and how it is relating to the world. What's your place in it? Everything develops in childhood. People who have a good theory of self, many times they will have this calmness inside. They know there is hell and everything, but something inside of them does not let them freak out. Other people can be anxious and it can take its shape inside the religion also. So, like, it can also be something about it because some people just think like they know there is hell and everything, but they don't fear, they just don't. It's like it's not in their personality, it's not too much. They put it to a side. It's one element of this. Also, of course, it's how you were taught at home and all of that. Even different children in the same household can look at it very differently. So, yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you.
A quick reminder to everyone, if you do raise your hand, the way that I let you know I've got you on the list is by typing down below in the chat. And you will see me periodically update that list with the new names. So if you are unsure about your place in line or if I got your hand, go ahead and check down in chat for that information. Next, Cougar Master.
Bitty, can I add one sentence? I forgot.
Cat Lady, make it two.
When I was a child, there was like this story, stupid story, that every night the soul goes to heaven and they decide if you will live another day. So I did not let myself go to sleep for a while. I totally get it. Like, yeah.
Hi, I followed you like 2 years, 3 years ago when, with David Wood and AP and all that gang, right? I was listening to about, Islam and all that and trying to figure out what Islam was all about and why I liked it. And then I started to see everything from David Wood and AP and you about the negatives of Islam and all that stuff. I can relate to it. It's kind of like communism. I want to say I'm sorry. I'm using this name Cougar Master. It's not because you're recording this, because I'm in this Hong Kong, right? So I don't want them, to be seeing this and then have somebody come
That's
up to my
okay.
house.
That's
And,
okay. It's okay. It's
yeah,
okay. You don't need to explain. But yeah, go back
yeah,
to Islam. What's your
yeah.
question?
So it's not a question. It's just I just wanted to speak out and say that, with all, I know a lot of.
Did it get cut? Guys, do you have audio?
I don't hear him.
Okay. All right. We don't have your audio, Cougar Master. So, okay.
Okay, next is Eric. And then when Cougar Master hopefully gets situated, he can come back in.
Okay.
Hello.
Can you guys
Okay,
hear me?
he's back.
Yeah. Okay. Hey,
Okay,
look.
go ahead.
Hey, I want to talk to you guys just a minute. I'm kind of a bit of a propagandist person myself. I like doing propaganda, making things funny, etc. Let me give you a quick rundown on my entire perspective on Islam and the problem is. It's going to take 2 minutes. When you got out, if you look back when the prophet was on the earth, they had nothing but pagans, right? Big wars, everything. This was a time, when Jesus was up in Rome and they were killing Christians. So you had him, and then you had Abu Bakr, the warlord, with him. Just let me show you something here, real quick. If you just look at something here, real quick, if you go into the Hades and the stuff they're talking about, Lake Font, all right, the messenger is telling people that these guys are making changes to the scripture. The whole idea of being an apostate's not being a Christian or a Muslim to begin with. These guys have been twisting Islam for 1400 years. Y'all are really familiar with the aorta story, aren't you? Where the prophet on his deathbed is talking about it, say as if God is ripping my aorta out. Well, and you go in the Quran and they're talking about this number where they're if I'm not a prophet, God's going to tear my heart out. Now let me make a point to you. You know why he's doing that? Because he's telling you these people that are preaching this stuff have innovated the religion and don't believe them when they're telling you I'm a prophet. I would rather you think of me as a heretic with no connection to God than allow you to continue this innovative crap you're preaching to people. And if you want to know the really funny thing about it, when you really get into the Islamic prophecy of it on the Armageddon, you know what really happens is that he says it's two people who share the same religion going to fight Armageddon. And people think that's Sunni versus Shiite. Probably not. It's more likely to be Sunni preaching Sunni. Yes, I understand four sects of Sunniism. The really interesting thing about that prophecy is he says the reason why they're going to fight each other is because they have adopted ways other than his and have teachings other than his. It's real easy.
None of this ever happened. None of these stories are real. Okay, you're taking it way too seriously. I suggest you read the book. What Did Muhammad exist by Robert Spencer? All of the stories about Muhammad didn't even exist, to be honest. Okay, so don't waste your time trying to come up with these stories, like making
Amirin,
sense of these stories.
one thing. Let me tell you something. I believe this. People never tamper with prophecy because they don't understand it. They have no clue what it's
Well,
about. And the really funny thing about it, and I
okay,
always tell people, the proof of heaven and God is in the fulfillment of prophecy. Now, it's really a fascinating story. Prophecy is kind of what some
all
of
right.
what I
So
do
we
here.
don't want
Just
to. Okay, I mean, I'm an atheist, so I don't
I
take
know, brother.
prophecies. Yeah,
I
yeah.
know. I
So yeah,
respect that. I'm not trying to
yeah,
convince people to believe in God. I'm just telling you,
right.
it's an amazing
But
story. I'll let you go, boss.
but yeah. But regardless of whether God exists or not, I could tell you that there is more than enough evidence to show that Muhammad's stories are made up. There was no Muhammad. The entire story is fabricated. So if you want to know why, just go read this book by
But
Robert
hey,
Spencer. All right. So
I
let's
mean,
move on. This
you
yeah.
can use that made up story to rip these people into Yahoo. You understand what I'm telling? They
That's
have
what I've
this.
been doing for 10 years, so don't worry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I'm with you. I'm not against you.
Next, we have Payman NG.
Who?
Payman. I believe that's a Persian name. I've seen it a lot.
Paymon.
Jay.
Paymon Hesti.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm here
Yeah.
and I'm so
Oh,
glad to be here for the first time. I'm an Iranian atheist and I have two
Hesti.
messages. One regarding what Armin mentioned regarding the school time. I remember when I was in school, we forced to pray for Islam and all of this. And if we refuse, so we kick out from the school. And also, I remember if we read the Quran wrongly, they hit us badly. My friend actually got a broken leg, and I was several times actually kicked me out from school, even in university, because in university also they force you to follow the Islamic rules, and also we have some courses. So, but it's not that the case that I wanted to be here. It's mainly for Potipto because I live in Sweden. I work for national security as a programmer. So if Potipto needs any helps regarding the security and this kind of things, I'm willing to help. And also, Armin, I sent you several days ago an email with voice that I introduced.
Message me here in school and give me what you want me to send to, but give me your email and the message you want me to send him. I'll copy and paste it and send it to Potipto, okay?
Thank you so much. And thank you so much, everyone, that you are with us, with Iranian people. Thank you.
Thank you also for being here. By the way, the school I went to in Iran, we would never get beaten. I was a spoiled kid that I went to schools that the kids would not get beaten. Okay, so I didn't have Payman's experience, which is tough. Sorry to hear that, Payman. Okay, let's move to the next person.
Next, I will call up Daniel Dom.
Hi, good evening.
Daniel.
Hello. I have a suggestion. If you do it, maybe like make debunking of propaganda, like 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. Just go on like what is the most current. Just can make it normally like the most relevant, like fake or stupid stuff that the IRGC making up, and debunk it and enlighten us, because sometimes I see stuff on the internet and I don't know, do they
Like
like
what?
worth it?
What?
Well, including this, because look, I have experience with propaganda because of the Russians, and the patterns are very,
Do
very
you have any
like
specific
alike.
examples, like for
Um,
IRGC propaganda, that needs to be responded to?
Look, this one is a bad example. I tell you it like in advance that it's a bad example. The day when the internet was flooded with biker girl who was murdered, and then I asked you, and you told me it is true. But until you gave me the answer, I was like, what is the purpose of this thing? Like, why does this thing is popping up a lot? And I started thinking maybe they tried to show that Iran is under IRGC. People can get famous for being biker girls and stuff like this because it's way too sexy for Muslim people to expose themselves on the internet.
There are many girls in Iran who walk around
Of
not because
course,
the Islamic Republic lets them, but because there's just too many to enforce Islamic law.
because when you have
There's
90 millions, it's hard to go for each and every one. But my perception of the Islamic Republic is sometimes like I don't know what to
But you also
expect
have to
from
be
them.
careful, because now, okay, so this might actually be being too careful. Also, we have to be careful not to overdo it,
Yeah.
because the Islamic Republic will also want you to doubt everything. So if you think the IRGC is behind everything, and even if they're not, the IRGC actually likes that. Like, oh yeah, actually, so don't trust anybody because it might be me, right? So we also have to be careful not to make them bigger than what they are as well, right? So it's hard. It's a hard balance.
Yeah, so that's why actually like maybe if someone who knows it better like you like Tosi does that you just go and like I don't know, hey guys, let's talk about this and this for 10 minutes, you like give an explanation on the most because if I'm not wrong, you told that like that how the misinformation warfare works is like they send bunch of messages and they just force, and what catches up, so they just forcing the stuff that catching up, and then they just amplifying this.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, the best way is to just check everything, but we can't assume that it's. So let me give an example, right? Like a lot of people think that Mossad is everywhere and they're behind everything, and they have so much control over all the politicians and all the media, right? So sometimes you might think like that is it's not bad for Mossad for people to
For
think
Mossad, yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
like okay, yeah, believe that. Why not? Like let them believe that Mossad is everywhere.
Yeah,
Okay,
Mossad
right.
Mossad has a
Mossad is
facility
under
for
your
that.
yeah, Mossad is under your bed. Make sure before you go to sleep you check under your bed for Mossad. So
and
sometimes that's
and
why I think we should be careful not to exaggerate how influential the IRGC is when it comes to controlling the media.
and the last thing, if I may, like lately I watched some guys, like some Iranians, Persians that are in Ukraine, and they are also pro Reza Pahlavi. It confirms it once again. And I'm just curious, like, do you guys have ties with those who live in the post-Soviet area? Like, do you? Mm,
We a lot of Iranians support Ukraine. A lot of Iranians support Ukraine.
no,
And mostly Ukraine. I don't know if we have any. I mean, Tajikistan as well. We do
no,
have.
just ask if you guys have any connections between each other, like those who are in
That's what I'm
the.
answering. That's what I'm answering. Mostly Ukraine and Tajikistan. Mostly Ukraine because they're also against Putin and we're against
Mhm.
Putin, right? And
Exactly.
Tajikistan.
Fuck Russia and
Babak,
fuck what they're doing.
Babak,
Fuck.
seriously, I'm gonna really mute your microphone if you don't raise your hand for speaking next time. Okay? You keep doing that, but then you do it again. Okay? See, now I lost my chain of thoughts. Thank you, Babak. Oh, Tajikistan, right? So Tajikistan has ancient history that is basically completely linked with Iranian Persian history. Like they support the Ferdowsi. They have Nowruz. They basically have their governments supporting a lot of the rituals and ceremonies and legends that the Iranian people wish they could support to the extent that Tajikistan does. So that's why we look at them and we would actually would end like we're jealous of them, right? Because they have all the celebrations that we wish we could celebrate in Iran. They have the full government backing for celebrating those very same ceremonies and rituals and traditions. And we look at that and but yeah. So with the Tajiks in general, Tajiks and like one thing I think more Iranians need to realize is that we have a major cultural tie with the Tajiks in Afghanistan as well. So we need to actually create those bonds because they celebrate Ferdowsi and Shahnameh. Remember, like for Iranians and Tajiks, Shahnameh Ferdowsi is basically more sacred, for lack of a better word, than Quran is to Muslims, right? So the fact that Tajiks celebrate Ferdowsi and Shahnameh, that means that we have a bond with them that we need to work on at some point. So when it comes to countries in that region, Ukraine and Tajikistan are our main allies. But
It's
I think
actually
just
interesting. It's actually interesting because Tajikistan is lately like Israel and Tajikistan, although it's not so spoken in the media, but Israel and Tajikistan try to have relations.
Oh
So that's
yeah,
interesting.
really interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. I think Jeffrey wanted to add something, right?
To Danny's point, I think what he's saying is, given the role of soft powers playing in the outcome of the current crisis and or revolution that's occurring inside Iran, identify current lines of disinformation the past 24 hours and debunk them. What might actually help that is, so Ryan Macbeth, he's actually trained in things like counterintelligence and or political warfare and information warfare. He uses a very particular service that helps you do that. That might be something you might reach out to. I know people that could probably reach out to him. To Armin's point, I think what he's saying also is you don't want the concern regarding disinformation to paralyze action, because that's one of the goals of disinformation, is not just to make you make a wrong decision, is to make you just not make any decision. It's almost like the soft power version of a function kill. And then there's an additional caveat, and you and Goldie talked about this on you had a really good show today before you came in here. I was really proud of both of you. With regards to you, with it was a person from maybe inside occupied Iran, or maybe within the broader Persian, like pro Iranian resistance eh, diaspora, mentioned how the Mullah regime and IRGC put out legitimate commentary designed to amplify co-radicalization with the goal of paralyzing the West. And you don't want to even likes or responses bumps them up in the algorithm, and you don't want to amplify those efforts. So those are all kind of three what seems like competing lines of effort that you have to juggle. I just figured maybe I'd chime in to help in a little bit on that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Right. Next, we have MD. Is there an MD? I see an MD. But is the MD here? MD1, MD2.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I have a question regarding believing in God, actually,
Okay.
or not believing in God. I don't believe in God. I believe that there is something which actually keeps all the universe in its place. For example, stars, or even the planets around the sun.
You mean
And
like gravity?
like gravity, for example, but there is
I
something which put
I do.
gravity,
I believe in gravity as well.
but there is something maybe higher than that or out of even our imagination that
I'm pretty
even
sure.
the because
I'm pretty sure
gravity.
there are many things beyond our imagination. The thing is that is it conscious or not? If it's obviously there are forces that makes the world the way it is beyond our imagination, that's a given. But when you're talking about I don't believe in God, but all of these things are not even closely resembling a god unless there's a consciousness. Do you associate any consciousness with anything that you're talking about? Saying that there are forces beyond our imagination is a given. I agree with that.
I believe in natural laws and actually laws of nature. Okay, what's the difference
Who
between?
doesn't?
Okay, what's the difference between this and being an atheist? Is there any commonality?
Consciousness. Do you associate consciousness with any of these forces or any of these laws?
You mean because I'm conscious that there is
Are,
this law?
are any of these forces self-aware? Can they think? Can they get angry? Can they get happy?
No.
No. Okay. So what you're describing is just the laws of the universe. Everybody believes in that. Who doesn't believe in that?
Okay, but there is some theory that actually we are not conscious, and whatever we experience, or even this
That
universe, actually is
depends on
an,
how you
no, no,
depends
no.
on how you define.
It's just an illusion. What do you have to say about it?
Everything in the universe is an illusion. Depends on what you mean. Obviously, anything that we experience is not a true, complete representative of whatever is out there. So obviously, everything we're experiencing has to be some sort of an illusion because nobody could experience the universe exactly as it is. So it must be an illusion.
Is there any difference between being an atheist and believing in these kind of things, or all atheists that they
No,
believe?
you're an atheist if you don't, because when people say they believe in God, unless they're being poetic and being a pantheist about it, usually when they're talking about a god, they're talking about a self-aware, conscious, self-aware. How about if you don't like the word conscious, a self-aware creator and manager of the universe? So you saying I believe in the laws of the universe, that almost everybody believes in that. So if you are not an atheist because you believe in the laws of the universe, then there are no atheists.
Is believing in science is kind of being atheist as well?
No, no. Being atheist has nothing to do with believing or not believing in science. Being an atheist is a lack of belief in God. You could be an atheist who believes in science. You could be an atheist who doesn't believe in science. You could be a God believing person who believes in science. You could be a God believing person who doesn't believe in science. These are two different things.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I have no more question at the moment. Thanks.
Okay.
Merci.
You could define God in so many different ways. You could say, like, oh, I call my cat a God and say, well, I believe in my cat, so I believe in God. So usually when we're talking about atheist or theist, we're talking about a specific definition of a God, which is a conscious creator and or manager of the universe, or self-aware creator and or manager of the universe, or at least parts of the universe.
Just before I go,
Yeah.
there should be something at the beginning to cause the Big Bang, wouldn't it?
Well, first
In
of
that,
all, begin. Yeah, something caused the Big Bang. Sure, something did cause the Big Bang. Why should we? Obviously, why
but
would
we
you call
don't
it that?
know. Yeah.
No, but it doesn't matter because guys, it doesn't matter if something caused the Big Bang because when you're talking about God, you don't have to you don't. It's not enough to show causality between something. But saying something caused the Big Bang has nothing to do with whether or not there was a God or not because you have to show a self-aware conscious being that deliberately caused the beginning of the universe, not just that something caused the beginning of the universe. Okay, and also like when we're talking about the beginning, actually if you look at the new understanding of how time works, there is no beginning. All
Yeah.
time has always
Look,
been. So
beginning
it's
and
it's
ending
just
doesn't mean anything.
yeah, beginning and ending doesn't mean anything, which also kind of contradicts the idea of God because God was supposed to start the universe, but we don't have any start. All time just is, according to our new understanding of how time works.
So everything is unknown.
Well, no, no. You're exaggerating. There are many things that are unknown, but there are also many things that are known. We know a lot, but we don't know. We also don't know a lot. There's a lot of unknown, but there's also a lot of known.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Oh yeah, yeah,
Uh,
definitely. Because before even I moved out from Iran, I actually was praying,
oh,
and
yeah.
I believe firmly in God. I used to read Quran and these kind of things. But a few years before I moved out of Iran, I believed in that time that Muhammad existed, but he was a big liar. Okay,
So,
but now even I don't believe that he was.
so So here's why it's easy for us Iranians to become atheists or at least non-religious is because we have something so much stronger than religion, which is patriotism, right? We worship Iran, and that's why we don't need God to worship because we have our country to serve, and we don't need the religious identity because we have our national identity, and our collective identity is Iranian. That's why it's easier for Iranians to leave Islam.
اوکی thank you very much مراقب خودت باش لطفا یکم بیشتر از خودت مراقبت کن چشات خیلی خسته است عزیزم خدا
No, that's thank you. I saw some other people that wanted to comment on this. Were the raised hands to be added to the list?
I wanted to comment on the conversation quickly. I do believe, like, when you say God is something that has to be like consciousness, but in terms of what we interpret as conscience, like maybe there is some force and some entity that is beyond our comprehension, even in the meaning of like awareness. Maybe his awareness is defined for more sophisticated creatures, and maybe what happens is just like all our universe is just a fraction of what he gets, and he
Wait,
exists, and
sorry,
he
I got
doesn't
cut for
need.
a second. Can you quickly say? Can you say it faster because I got kicked out for some reason? Can you quickly say
Oh,
there's some force? What like really fast?
like there are some force that is much beyond of our comprehension, is can experience much more stuff than we can, and the whole universe might be just a fraction of this uh, creature god, oh god creature. And I believe that this god has nothing to do with us. He doesn't care of our religions, rituals,
Daniel,
and
you're saying we might be part of a bigger force that is a conscious creature? You
yeah,
say there might. So when you say might, there is an endless number of things that I could add after that might be true because this is an unfalsifiable claim that you cannot disprove. So you say that we might be part of a force that is a conscious creature. Sure, we might, but we also might be part in the asshole of a giant turtle. Okay, the Big Bang might have like nobody could prove that. The
yeah,
Big Bang might have been the fart
just a big
out
fart.
of
Yeah,
a giant turtle from a parallel universe. Okay, so if you want to add might, then there's an endless number of mights that I could add. If we want to take all of them seriously, you have to take my theory serious as well because
yeah, of course.
nobody can prove that the Big Bang was not a giant turtle in a parallel universe and that farted and basically our entire universe came into existence from that fart. Nobody can
Yeah,
disprove
I
that.
agree
Just
with
be
you.
careful when you say might. There is an infinite number of claims that I could make that nobody could disprove, and each one of them should be taken as seriously as the other one without evidence.
Yeah, but when we speak on God, it's always a might because nobody
Well,
ever
then,
experienced or saw him or like
okay.
could
Well, then I'm going to
approve or
take it as
disprove.
seriously as my farting turtle god. Okay.
Of course.
Okay. Okay. All right. And it's Jeffrey, you wanted to. Oh, okay. Go on.
Payman. Okay.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Unanswered questions cannot be answered with existence of God. I just wanted to tell it many times because we cannot answer something. The existence of God is not the answer. But one of the things that I really would like we focus right now, personally, is the situation in Iran. We should
Okay.
get back to that discussion if you are agree. I'm Iranian, so what I really love is we focus on the
Well,
most important thing.
in this group, we try to allow the members of the group decide the direction. So you could invite the group to, and when you raise your hand, you could steer the conversation back to that direction. But I try not
Because,
to, yeah.
because I don't know, but we are talking about atheism, because I have a lot of
So
things to
here's
say.
the thing: the way I think about it, right? I want to talk about Iran, right, and what's happening there. But we have every day here, we have a group discussion, right? So if I come here every day, like when the revolution at the beginning, it made sense that every day we talk about Iran and only Iran, right? But if I then come here and say on this political discussion group that everybody should talk about Iran and nothing else, at some point people are going to leave the discussion group, right? So that's why I try to allow some diversity in the discussion instead of just forcing only one topic, because people are like, okay, but what if I'm here because I want to talk about other things as well? So for the sake of people staying and also hearing about us talking about Iran, we have to allow other people to talk about other things, or else the group will shrink. Does that make sense?
Thank you, Armin. Yeah, that makes sense. And also because of I'm new here, I don't know in which direction we
Yeah.
go. So,
But every time you want to bring the conversation back to about Iran, you could raise your hand, and then you could, based on that, you bring the conversation back to Iran, right?
absolutely. Thank you so much.
So I think we could move on, or
Uh,
yeah.
I,
Okay.
I've got a question. May I ask if there is nobody else?
Well, if it can, you just raise your hand and be added to the list, because I think we
Yeah,
basically talked
I
about
did.
this now.
Oh,
Don't worry. So you're on the list then. Then you're on the list.
Okay.
All right.
I'll
So
put you on the list. Also, things got chaotic for a moment, so I just want to confirm that I got everyone on the list. I saw Babak raise his hand, and I'm not going to include Payman, I guess, because I think you just wanted to respond to the point. If anyone else, I have Jeffrey, Sabina, Cougar, Cat Lady, Giovanna, and Babak. So if anyone is not here, then I don't currently have you. Raise your hand again.
your hand again if you're not.
Okay,
Yeah, okay.
I'll add Daniel Dome. Next, I want to call up Jeffrey.
Oh, I was going to talk about that other topic that said if that topic is tabled and moved on, and I can let somebody else go.
Okay, then the next person is Sabina.
Okay, so I did have a question about Iran, but first I wanted to ask questions about the subject that we've been talking about. You know, I think that when the Constitution was written and freedom of religion was put in there, I don't think they had any conception of the political aims and seditious nature of those political aims, like of Islam. You know, I wonder with this whole metaphysical aspect of it, I don't think it's useful to really try to talk people in or out of a belief in God as much as it is to focus on the existential threat of the seditious nature of the political, legal system that Islam is trying to impose. And, you know, I wonder about what our best strategy is for combating Islam. And like the more I've learned, like since October 7th, just combating like all the arguments that the anti Semitic arguments that have come up, you know, it seems like before that, I started searching on my own. Like I was never taught the history of Islamic imperialism or like imperialism, slavery, like all these things were the sins of the Western powers. They weren't taught as the sins of Islam. And, you know, it seems like, you know, what is our best strategy in combating this shit? You know, but
So that's your question. What is the best strategy? What is
well,
the best strategy to combat Islam?
yeah. And what should I do personally to not kind of slide into like hating Muslims?
Yeah.
And that would be my main questions. Yeah.
Well, actually, one of the best ways to fight Islam is to be friendly to Muslims. And be anti-Islamic while being friendly to Muslims, because when you're friendly to Muslims, then your anti-Islamism, they would get exposed to your anti-Islamism. If you're unfriendly to Muslims, then they will create a distance between you and them, and your anti-Islamism is not going to rub on them. They're not going to get influenced by your anti-Islamism. The more you are accessible to Muslims because you're not being harsh to them, the more they're going to experience your anti-Islamic views.
Okay, so like present the truth, but not be hostile, I guess, or
Yeah, I actually go out of my way to be extra friendly because I want to make a good case for, look, I'm an Islamophobe and I'm really easy. I'm a good person. So look how good Islamophobes are, right? So
right,
it confuses their, like, because a lot of them think that Islamophobes are like demonic evil people. So it confuses the fuck out of them if somebody is like an extra Islamophobe and is like, by the way, like, and also treats them very nicely and friendly. Like they were like, what the fuck? Like, why aren't you supposed to be like the devil, or something, right? So that by itself fucks with their mind, right? If you're just very friendly and also anti-Islamic, right? It just a lot of them question their beliefs when they see somebody who's this anti-Islamic could be this nice to them.
right. I mean, because you get to a point where it's like, why don't people throw this out? Because it is so oppressive to women, when oppressive in so many ways. It's like, why do people believe this shit? But
They don't consider it to be oppressive, they consider it to be protective. That's what they see it. It's also a good way to fight Islam is to really try to understand their perspective from their strongest arguments. Like instead of like because it's easy to make fun of Islam from our perspective, but if you
right,
could put yourself in their shoes and really try to see things from their perspective, that's the best way to speak their language. Because if you come and just say like, oh my god, you're so oppressive to women, they're just going to think like, well, this person hasn't bothered researching our perspective for half a second. So, like, yeah, everybody says Islam is oppressive to women, but if you actually get into their perspective and see their arguments for why this is not oppressive and this is actually the best thing to protect women, then when you're talking to them, if you first give the steelman instead of like the easiest attacks on Islam, they're like, oh my god, this person has done their homework. This, like, I did, like, you actually make their arguments, their cases for Islam before they even make it. Then why are you against it? Like, if you know these stuff, then why are you against it, right? Then you
right.
make your case for why you're against it. So if you actually, basically, before they even get a chance to defend Islam, you bring up their defense for Islam and repeat it to them, then they will take you a lot more seriously. Right. So, for example, what do you consider oppressive to a woman? For example, let me try to steelman them.
The whole kind of like justification, that women bring rape upon themselves by being immodest. That
Oh, here, yeah, I'll put my Muslim hat on. Where does it say in the Quran that they are bringing rape upon themselves? Where does it say that? It
well,
doesn't say that anywhere.
I've seen imams say that.
Oh, imams are not as just imam. You're judging imams. You're not judging Islam. If you want to judge Islam, you have to judge the word of God, not what imams say. See, I defend Islam better than most Muslims. If you, okay,
I always love the Mufti Armin segment.
then yeah, this is Mufti Armin. So
Right.
what else you got?
That Islam is okay with slavery.
Well, okay, so Islam, first of all, so slavery is something that God was trying to. You have to look at the spirit of Islam, right? So in Islam, there's a lot of. By the way, guys, this is just me playing devil's advocate. Okay,
Yeah.
so in Islam, what you have to notice is that there's a lot of teachings for freeing slaves, right? So God understood that the entire global economy worked on slavery at that time. So it didn't make any sense for God to come and say, give up all your slaves. God understands the socio economic and cultural situation at the time and is not going to come and completely ask something that is undoable by the people at that time, right? So God created the means for people to eventually get rid of slavery by making a good thing for freeing slaves. So he basically showed that the attitude to slavery is that slavery is a negative by advocating that freeing slaves is something that you will go to heaven for if you do that. So he basically created the situation where eventually the world will get rid of slavery. But obviously, just completely getting rid of it at that time was not within the limit. God understands the limitations of humans and works with their limitations.
Right. Well, and that I mean, I guess part of like where you get slaves is your like political, you know, your enemies that you conquer that are infidels or whatever. Like, isn't that kind of like where
Yeah,
how
so
slaves got?
that was instead of killing them, you bring them under your protection. So when you look at this, guys, look at the 4D chess that I'm gonna do here. Okay, so
Right.
when you go attack your enemies and you kill the fighting men, if you didn't just leave them, they're going to starve to death. The women and children are going to starve to death because you just killed the people who were the bread bringers of your family. So the slavery under Islam is not the slavery of these barbaric Americans that you see in movies, the way they were treating black people. Babak, stop! Like, I'm gonna remove. Like, seriously, I'm gonna turn off. Like, honestly, I don't know how to deal with. Okay, every time I'm trying to say something serious, Babak distracts me. All right, what was I saying?
You were saying that like the
Oh,
slavery is actually protection under Islam,
yeah.
like rather
Yeah,
than the
so
slavery.
basically, instead of just leaving them there to be starved to death, right? So I would bring them under the protection into my, because the slavery under Islam, you treat the slaves a lot better than these barbaric American. Like, you guys, you American, you Westerners watch slavery movies and you see like slaves being treated like, animals, right? But under Islam, slaves were lived with the family, they ate with the family, and they were not mistreated. And by bringing these women and other people into slavery, you're basically saving them from starvation and death, right?
You're actually protecting them by enslaving them and bringing them closer to Islam. Um, or that's
Yes, and
the
you're also, yeah, also you're also giving them the opportunity to become Muslim, which is going to, because they're now living in an Islamic family, and if you do that, you're going to save their afterlife as well.
right. Well, I mean, but I mean, like that's what's being said, but I mean, isn't the reality like a lot more barbaric than that? I mean,
Yes, but
yeah. I
yes,
mean,
but again, I say these because I'm saying this is the level of, um, this is the Islam that you should be knowing how to respond to.
how to
The
right,
Islam, the Islam that people say like, oh, Islam is barbaric to women, Islam is just like kills and murders. That is like, just repeating that is not going to convince the Muslim who has been exposed to this level of Islamic, apologetics.
right,
So just coming out repeating like, oh, Muhammad was a pedophile, oh, Islam supports slavery, they already have a defense mechanism against all of that. So if you really want to defeat Islam, you really have to know the best arguments for all of these points to be able to respond to them when they make them.
right. But the question that I had about Iran was just what kind of chances do you think we have to like see the army turn like it did in the 79 revolution?
Okay, so I'm gonna be honest, guys. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. When every time, like whenever we expected something and then it turns out that it was not true, I'm not gonna come here and act like somebody that saw it happening. Okay, so when we failed in analyzing something or we made a mistake in predicting things, I'm going to be transparent with you guys and tell you, okay, we didn't see this coming and we were wrong. In response to your question, we are kind of surprised that the Artesh didn't saw this level of massacre happening on Iranian people, and still the defection levels were not at all to the level that we were hoping for, given that they killed this many Iranians, right? So we were hoping that by like with if millions of Iranians will show up into the streets And if the IRGC, I mean, forget the IRGC, they're foreign forces inside Iran. Like
Right.
we see people from Iraq and Pakistan and Afghanistan killing Iranians, and even that did not trigger the people from the Artesh to come and join the people and defend them. Like that is like we are very disappointed right now with the
Yeah,
Artesh. I mean,
it's
at
kind
least
of
I am.
shocking.
Yeah. The what?
It's
Okay,
kind of
Armin, we
shocking
are
that
very much
that
at a
that they saw
time limit
that
here.
Oh,
and didn't turn.
okay. Yeah, we
Yeah,
need to
but-
move
We
on.
are
Sorry.
14 minutes in, so we have, yep. Next, we have Sabina.
Oh, Sabina was
That was
talking. That
my
was
friend.
Sabina.
Yeah, next one.
Oh, my apologies. Cougar.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I want to ask about Iran. Just say that Iran gets freed, okay? Look at the bright side, Iran gets freed. But my worry is that what happens if, because of that lady, the messed up hair with the flower in the hair, that woman, the MEK, what if the US government supports her in installing her as the ruling party?
Wait, sorry. What are you? What is your question? I didn't understand the question. By the way, I just want to say, Babak, I love you. Okay, I hope you don't get upset with me. Okay, Mwah. Kisses to you. Sorry, but go on, Cougar again one more time.
Just say that Iran gets freed, okay?
Okay. Okay.
Iran will get
It's
free.
supposed to be the Shah that will do the transition, right?
Yeah, he's
So,
going to be the leader of the transitional government.
yes,
Yes. Okay.
yes, but just for some messed up reason, because you know the messed up hair, that lady, that the MEK, that lady from the
Oh,
MEK,
Mariam Rajavi. Okay, Mariam Rajavi.
yeah,
from the
Mariam
MEK.
Rajavi. What
Okay.
if the US government
You must dismantle the
supports her?
Iran.
Wait, guys, don't speak at the same time. I'm already
Sorry.
having a hard time understanding Cougar. What is the question?
What if the US government supports her than the Shah?
Nobody is going to support her. Are people not hearing Cougar? Some people are not hearing him. Everybody is hearing him? Okay.
It's
Yeah.
difficult, but yes, I hear him.
Okay. So your audio was a little bit bad. Who are you worried about supporting? Who's going to support her? Mariam Raj?
Say the US government says that, okay,
Ah,
we want to install her as the government, not the Shah.
that makes no sense. No, don't worry. We're not worried about that. How could you force the MEK on Iranian people? Everybody hates her. That is impossible.
I'm not sure, because every time I get on the
No,
YouTube,
wait. Mm.
What is
How
the
is
Iranian
America
constitution based on?
How is America going to install Mariam if she enters Iran? I don't know how long she's going to live after she puts her foot in Iran, like given how much Iranians hate her. How is America going to install her upon the Iranian people? No, it doesn't.
It does.
Cougar, like give it the way.
and also, you know, but every time I go on the YouTube, right, Shah TV and these other YouTubers, you know, outside, I always try to correct them, right, that she's MEK communist, and I don't think a lot of people really.
First of all, America can't do that. One, two.
Mm.
Why would America do that?
I'm not sure. I mean, because they have been lobbying and doing all this stuff.
America has been robbing. America hasn't been robbing.
No, lobbying.
Oh, lobbying.
Lobbying.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
they've been lobbying
Because,
who? They've been lobbying Mike Pence.
yeah, Mike
Giuliani?
Pence, yeah, Giovanni, and a few others.
Yeah.
And they are supporting her
Pompeo.
quite loudly.
Do you understand that the US government is so much bigger than those few people? Like that is not enough. Those are
Yeah, it's just a what, and also the other thing is that, you know, the tactics that the IRGC and the Iraqi army is using against the people, these are all taught by the CCP. People have to know that. Okay.
I don't know if I don't know if the CCP has been helping the Islamic Republic with intelligence, you know, and monitoring people, but that's about it.
Yeah, they also did a lot of security training in the background, like in the 90s and beginning of the 2000s.
Okay. So, do you have any other questions regarding the MEK? Don't
No,
worry about the MEK. The MEK is
yeah,
the only. The MEK will never rule over Iran. Americans don't want that, and even if they wanted that, they're not going to be able to force that upon the Iranian people. And also, the only problem we have with the big problem we have with the MEK is the misinformation that they're spreading and the media. But they have close to zero chance of ever ruling in Iran. In fact, they can't even live in Iran, let alone rule over Iran.
That's my only worry because the amount of media outside, I kept on seeing people trying to
In fact, they don't even
to
want to rule over Iran. That would be their end of. They're making. They don't want to rule over Iran. They're grifters. This is a money making. Being opposed to the Islamic Republic for them, this is a money making machine. They know they can't rule over Iran. They're not even intending to rule over Iran. They're just trying to for this to last forever. They want to be the alternative to the Islamic Republic, while the Islamic Republic always lives as a way to convince more people to give them money. They're not even serious about actually becoming the government or anything. This is just a money making machine for them.
yeah, that's the. But one last question: are also Muslims in Iran?
Huh? What? What? What did he say? Do you guys hear me?
Are there any Muslims in Iran?
Are there any Muslims in Iran? Yes. Okay.
His
Let's
audio
move on.
has cut out. So we are going to move on again to Giovanna. Give me 1 second. Your mic was muted for not being muted during the speaking, and so I disabled it. Give me 1 second. I'll allow you back in. Okay.
I just wanted to say that unless you abolish this Islamic constitution, which is based on the Quran, you cannot be free. That's fact. It needs a secular constitution based in law and order, and maybe it can be modeled after the constitution before the Islamic revolution, but it has to be updated to comply with international law.
The Iranian people's desire for secularism is beyond any country in the world. I could guarantee you that secularism is not something that we have to worry about in our upcoming constitution.
It is because
There,
people
in
are
fact, if
sorry, because people of Iran are programmed in a way via tradition and rituals and all that stuff, and the belief of the Quran into believing wrong things.
I think
Made
you're
up.
misinformed. The Iranian people are the most
I'm not
anti-Islamic
misinformed.
people in the
I'm
world.
one of the best informed people on the planet right now.
Okay, well but your information is wrong. The Iranian people are
What's
not
up?
programmed for anything Islamic. Wait, are we speaking at the same? Okay, make your point and then I'll make my point. But let me know when you're finished
You
so
were
I can
just
speak.
defending Islam a couple of minutes ago.
Okay, you are definitely not informed. I am very against Islam. I actually clarified multiple times that I was playing devil's advocate. I am very aggressively anti-Islamic. So it's interesting that you say that you are very informed, but you couldn't tell that I was actually acting.
I'm a little
I
bit
said,
upset because of my situation right
okay, so let me clarify. I mentioned that I'm playing devil's advocate. I said, let me put my Muslim hat on. I said, let's play the steel man so that we could fight Islam more effectively. So Sabina was asking me questions about how to fight Islam, and to show her how to fight Islam. I want to wipe Islam off the planet, off the entire world,
Me
not just
too.
Iran. Okay, so don't think. So you misunderstood when I said when I was defending Islam, I was pretending to be an Islam defender, so Sabina could see what are the most sophisticated ways to defend Islam, so she could deal with a more sophisticated, so she could attack a more sophisticated version of this defending Islam. That was what I was doing. Okay, so I was trying to show her how a harder target looks like, so she's not just dealing with the lamest attempts defenses of Islam. That's what I was doing, right? So I'm very aggressively anti-Islamic, very aggressively, right? and also so are the Iranian people. And when it comes to Iranian people, they are the most Islam. I'm proud to say that Iran is the Islamophobia capital of the whole world. And in fact, if when it comes to our constitution after the Islamic Republic falls, not only you don't have to worry about it becoming secular, you actually have to be worried about the safety of the mullahs after the Islamic Republic falls, because secularism is not enough for the Iranian people. Even the laicite version of France is not enough for the Iranian people. After what Islam
Yes,
did to the
but
Iranian people,
sorry,
after
I
what
mean,
is hold on, let
yeah,
me make
okay.
my point. After what Islam did to the Iranian people, there are millions and millions of Iranian people that want to wipe Islam out of Iran completely, not just out of government, but off of everywhere in Iran. So secularism is just the first step. The Iranian people want to completely eradicate Islam
Yes, but
inside
that is
Iran.
precisely that is the problem, because you need to have compassion for the people who are still trapped in the programming of the Quran of the and Islam.
I,
So secularism has to be implemented in a compassionate way.
I agree with that, but I'm just saying when it comes to worrying about religion and governments, I wouldn't worry about that. Okay.
Okay, we found some common ground. That's cool.
Yes.
So basically, the next steps is to take all the people who fight against the Islam to fight actually for something, for secularism. If you fight against something, you basically prop it up. If you fight
Yes.
for something, you disable the thing that you energetically disable the thing that you are fighting against, because you're putting your energy into building something new. That is the
So
key to success.
So these are the four things that the Iranian people are fighting for. They're
That's
fighting
important. Yeah.
for democracy, secularism, border integrity, and equal individual rights before the law. These are the four things that right now Iranians are fighting for.
And that are predominantly American values. As I am, like, my sister is a natural American.